The Employee Retention Credit from the IRS is the last major COVID relief program. Claim up to $26,000 for each employee you had on payroll. This is Marty Stewart with Disaster Loan Advisors. The IRS tax refund is newfound money for your business. Let us help you navigate the ERC program with flexible options and working together. You can relax and have peace of mind that you're in good hands. Stay safe, stay compliant, and keep more of your refund. Take the next step and schedule a free ERC consultation call with us today.
What is Employee Retention Credit? Typo. What is the Employee Retention Credit? Or rather, did you mean, what is the Employee Retention Credit? Many people have mistakenly typed us versus. This is because the U and the I keys are next to each other on a laptop or computer keyboard. Employee Retention Credit is a refundable tax credit offered by the U.S. government to eligible employers. This credit is designed to incentivize companies to retain their employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, this credit was expanded under the American Rescue Plan Act to provide even more financial support to businesses affected by the pandemic. So, what is Employee Retention Credit? Exactly? It's a provision under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which was signed into law in March 2020. Under this provision, eligible employers can receive a refundable payroll tax credit of up to $5,000 per employee. To qualify for this credit, businesses must meet certain criteria, such as experiencing a significant decline in gross receipts or being forced to shut down entirely due to government orders related to COVID-19. Key ERC takeaways. Employee Retention Credit is a refundable tax credit offered by the U.S. government to eligible employers. This credit is designed to incentivize companies to retain their employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the CARES Act, eligible employers can receive a payroll tax credit of up to $5,000 per employee to help retain their workforce. If you have not already filed, you can still claim the Employee Retention Credit retroactively in 2023, 2024, and 2025. Overview of the employee retention for businesses impacted by COVID-19. The Employee Retention Credit is a refundable tax credit that aims to incentivize businesses to retain their employees by providing financial relief for companies that experience revenue loss due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Goals and benefits of the ERTC program. The primary goal of the Employee Retention Credit is to help businesses maintain financial stability during the COVID-19 pandemic by incentivizing them to retain employees on their payroll. The program's benefits are broad-reaching, extending beyond simply easing financial burdens for employers. For example, retaining staff allows businesses to preserve valuable institutional knowledge and maintain high customer service levels throughout these challenging times. Furthermore, by supporting continued employment opportunities within communities, the ERTC helps the Social Security taxes foster economic resilience at a local level. Eligibility requirements for businesses to qualify. To qualify for the Employee Retention Credit, businesses must meet certain eligibility requirements, including experiencing a significant decline in gross receipts or being subjected to a full or partial shutdown due to COVID-19 government orders. Generally, companies must show at least a 50% reduction in their quarterly revenue compared to the same corresponding quarter from the previous year. Aside from revenue loss thresholds, the size of your company also plays an important role in determining eligibility. The ERTC is available for organizations with fewer than 500 employees and applies equally to for-profit and nonprofit entities. It's important to note that those qualified employers can still benefit from this tax credit even if they receive financial assistance through other relief programs like Paycheck Protection Program loans. However, an employer cannot claim wages for PPP loan forgiveness as qualified wages towards claiming ERTC. How the credit works and whom it is designed to help. The Employee Retention Credit is a refundable tax credit intended to provide financial relief to businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, incentivizing employers to maintain their workforce during these challenging times. Eligible employers can claim this valuable credit on qualified employee wages, including certain health insurance costs. For example, the ERTC allows businesses with fewer than 100 employees to receive a credit equal to 50% of qualified wages paid up to $10,000 per employee for the entire year. The maximum amount of qualified wages per employee is set at $5,000 in 2020 and increases to $7,000 in 2021 on a per quarter basis. As an added benefit, businesses that previously took out Paycheck Protection Program loans are still eligible for the ERTC. Eligibility requirements for the Employee Retention Credit. To be eligible for the Employee Retention Credit, businesses must have experienced a significant decline in gross receipts or been fully or partially suspended due to government orders related to COVID-19. Overview of the CARES Act criteria. The Employee Retention Credit is a tax credit program established under the CARES Act to help businesses with financial difficulties due to COVID-19. To be eligible for the ERC, businesses must have been fully or partially suspended due to a government order limiting commerce, travel, or group gatherings, or they must have experienced a significant decline in gross receipts. The decline in revenue must be at least 50% compared to the same third quarter in 2019. Furthermore, companies with more than 500 full-time employees can only claim the ERC for wages paid to employees that are not providing services due to a full or partial shutdown related to COVID-19. The ERC provides tax credits of up to $5,000 per employee for qualified wages paid from March the 13th of December 31st of 2020 and up $7,000 per employee for each calendar quarter until June 30th of this year. Understanding your business's eligibility requirements is critical when considering claiming benefits from this program effectively yet efficiently. Gross receipts and revenue loss thresholds. To be eligible for the Employee Retention Credit, businesses must show that they suffered a significant decline in gross receipts due to COVID-19. This means their overall revenue decreased by at least 50% compared to the same quarter in the previous year. It's important to note that the ERTC is only available for qualifying wages paid during periods when a business meets these thresholds. For example, suppose a company experienced a decline in gross receipts of more than 50% for the second quarter of 2020 and less than 50% for the third quarter of 2020. In that case, it can claim qualified wages paid credit generating period between July 1st and September 30th as part of its ERTC calculation. Impact of COVID-19 on eligibility. The COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted many businesses, and the eligibility requirements for the Employee Retention Credit have taken this into account. To be eligible for the credit in 2020, businesses must have experienced either a full or partial suspension of business operations due to government orders related to COVID-19 or have experienced a significant decline in gross receipts compared to the same fourth quarter as in 2019. For example, let's say that a BC company saw its revenue drop by more than 50% during Q2 of 2020 compared to Q2 of 2019 due to the pandemic-related shutdowns. It's important to note that while PPP loan recipients were originally ineligible for ERTC, recent legislative changes now allow businesses with PPP loans to also qualify for ERTC under some conditions. How to claim the Employee Retention Credit. To claim the Employee Retention Credit, eligible employers must complete and file IRS Form 941 or 943 for the applicable quarter, including reporting qualified wages paid to employees and calculating the credit amount. Filing deadlines and documentation requirements. Businesses must file for the Employee Retention Credit on their quarterly tax filings. The IRS has set specific deadlines for filing the necessary forms, and businesses must provide documentation to support their claim. Here's what you need to know about filing deadlines and documentation requirements. 1. Deadlines. Eligible employers can claim the wages funded by the ERTC on their employment tax returns in 2020 and 2021. For qualified wages paid between March 13, 2020 and December 31, 2020, businesses can claim the credit on Form 941 for each quarter during which they paid qualified wages. For qualified wages paid between January 1, 2021 and December 31, 2021, businesses can similarly claim the credit on Form 941. 2. Documentation. Businesses must maintain accurate records to support their claims for the ERTC. These records must demonstrate that they meet eligibility requirements and accurately calculate the amount of credit claimed. Documentation should include the following: proof of employer status, record of eligible employees, gross receipts for each calendar quarter, amounts of eligible, qualified wages paid, any other necessary documentation supporting an eligible employer's claim. Ensure you keep good records of your eligible expenses so that you can quickly and efficiently file your credit claim with your quarterly tax returns. Understanding filing deadlines and documentation requirements is essential when considering claiming the ERTC as part of your business's COVID-19 relief strategy. By ensuring you meet these requirements correctly, you may be able to take advantage of this program's significant benefits. Overview of the IRS forms needed to claim the credit. To claim the Employee Retention Credit, businesses must file Form 941, Employer's Quarterly Federal Tax Return. The ERC is claimed on line 11C of this form and can be applied against the business's payroll taxes. Businesses need to keep accurate records and documentation related to qualified wages paid and the calculation of the credit amount. This includes keeping track of employee hours worked, pay rates, and health insurance costs. Calculating the Employee Retention Credit. Calculating the employee retention credit can be tricky, but understanding how to calculate the employee retention tax credit work amount for each employee and the maximum employee retention credit work amount per business is essential. How to calculate the credit amount for each employee. To calculate the employee retention credit amount for each employee, follow these steps. 1. Determine the qualified wages. Identify the gross wages and compensation paid to each employee during the applicable quarter. Qualified wages must meet certain criteria, such as being paid when the business experienced a decline in gross receipts or was subject to government shutdown orders. 2. Calculate the credit rate. For businesses with 100 or fewer employees, the credit is computed at 50% of qualified wages paid, up to $10,000 per eligible employee for the year. For businesses with over 100 employees, only qualified wages paid to employees not providing services due to COVID-19 can be used to calculate the credit. 3. Calculate the credit amount. Multiply the total qualified wages made by the employee retention tax credit and the rate determined above to arrive at the maximum credit amount per employee. For example, if an employee earned $8,000 in qualified wages during a quarter and met all other eligibility requirements, they would qualify for a credit of $4,000 or 50% of $8,000. 4. Subtract any previous payroll tax credits claimed. If your business already claimed certain payroll tax credits like paid sick leave credit or family leave credit included under the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act, you need to reduce those claims from ERTC amounts claimed. By following these calculations accurately and consistently claiming appropriate employer credits on your quarterly filings, you can maximize your ERTC benefits for each eligible employee throughout 2020 and 2021. Maximum credit amount per employee and per business. The Employee Retention Credit offers a maximum credit of $5,000 per employee in 2020 and $7,000 per employee in 2021. This credit is calculated at 50% of qualified wages paid to eligible employees by the employer. Additionally, businesses with less than 100 employees are eligible for up to $10,000 in ERTC for each eligible employee for the year. It's important to note that there is also a maximum limit on the total amount of ERTC that each business can claim. Benefits of the Employee Retention Credit. The Employee Retention Credit offers reduced tax liability, increased cash flow and financial stability, and incentivizes employers to retain employees. Reduced tax liability for businesses. The Employee Retention Credit can help businesses reduce their tax liability by allowing them to claim a refundable tax credit for a percentage of the qualified wages paid to employees. This means that business owners can get back some of the money they spent on employee wages and health insurance costs, which can be critical during tough economic times. For example, if an eligible employer had 10 employees who qualified for the credit in 2021, and all 10 employees were paid at least $10,000 each in qualified wages during one or more quarters that meet the eligibility requirements, then such an eligible employer could receive up to $70 K10x $7,000 as a credit against its employment taxes owed for those same quarters. The ERTC is particularly beneficial because it is fully a refundable credit, meaning that even if your business doesn't owe any federal payroll taxes or other taxes due within 3 years after applying the full amount of this ERC against such taxes, you may still qualify for a cash refund from IRS of any excess ERC remaining. Increase cash flow and financial stability. One of the key benefits of the Employee Retention Credit is that it can help small to medium-sized businesses increase their cash flow and achieve greater financial stability during these uncertain times. For example, if your business qualifies for the ERTC and has $50,000 in qualified wages paid to employees, you could receive a refundable payroll tax credit of up to $25,000 50% x $50,000. This credit can be used to offset any payroll taxes paid or other federal taxes your business owes. Overall, the increased cash flow afforded by the ERTC can provide much-needed relief for struggling small businesses while incentivizing employers to keep their valued team members employed. Incentive for employers to retain employees. The Employee Retention Credit strongly incentivizes employers to retain their employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. By offering a refundable tax credit, businesses can reduce their tax liability while keeping their workforce intact. For example, let's say your business has experienced a significant decline in revenue due to the pandemic, but you still want to keep your staff employed. The ERTC allows you to claim up to 50% of qualified wages paid for eligible employees, up to $5,000 in 2020 and $7,000 in 2021. This could mean saving thousands of dollars on your tax bill while providing financial stability for your workers during uncertain times. Limitations of the Employee Retention Credit. The availability of the Employee Retention Credit may be limited by factors such as receiving a PPP loan or if an employer's gross receipts have increased above a certain threshold. Factors that may limit the availability of the credit. Although the Employee Retention Credit offers numerous benefits to eligible businesses, its availability has some limitations. First and foremost, businesses that received a Paycheck Protection Program loan cannot claim the ERTC for the same wages paid with PPP funds. Furthermore, businesses must demonstrate a significant decline in gross receipts or have been fully or partially suspended due to a government order to be eligible for the credit. This means that if your business has not experienced economic hardship due to COVID-19, you may be unable to claim the credit even if you meet all other eligibility criteria. Possible drawbacks or trade-offs for businesses. While the Employee Retention Credit provides significant tax relief to businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic, there are some potential drawbacks and trade-offs to consider. One of the main limitations is that claiming the credit may impact a business's eligibility for other COVID-19 relief programs, such as PPP loans or state grants. Additionally, employers must have accurate documentation of qualified wages and meet specific eligibility requirements, which can be burdensome for smaller businesses or those with limited resources. Despite these limitations, many small businesses still have found the ERTC to be a valuable tool for retaining employees and staying financially stable during these uncertain times. For example, one small business owner used the credit to keep their entire staff on payroll while pivoting their business model to adapt to new market conditions. Real-life examples of the Employee Retention Credit. Learn about real-life scenarios and case studies that illustrate the benefits of the Employee Retention Credit, including how different businesses have leveraged the credit to reduce their tax liability, increase cash flow, and retain employees amidst challenging economic conditions. Case studies and scenarios illustrating the credit in action. Small to medium-sized businesses from various industries have benefited from the Employee Retention Credit. Here are some examples. 1. A restaurant in California with 70 employees was forced to close during lockdowns. They could claim $350,000 in ERTC for the wages paid to their employees during this period. 2. A manufacturing company in Ohio with 55 employees saw a significant decline in revenue due to COVID-19. They were eligible for the ERTC and claimed $280,000 of tax credits over 2 quarters. 3. A nonprofit organization in New York City with fewer than 100 employees also qualified for the ERTC and claimed around $60,000 in tax credits across several quarters. 4. An architecture firm with 20 employees saw decreased business and decided to reduce employee working hours instead of layoffs. They were still eligible for the ERTC, which helped them save on payroll taxes and retain talented staff members. These cases demonstrate how different types of businesses can benefit from the credit, including those hit hard by government-mandated shutdowns or experiencing other economic hardships due to COVID-19. The credit is flexible enough to help businesses of varying sizes, and industries keep workers on payroll while potentially providing significant tax relief. Calculation and impact of the credit on different businesses. The calculation and impact of the Employee Retention Credit can vary depending on the size and revenue of a business. Here are some key factors to consider. 1. Size of business. Businesses with less than 100 employees can claim the ERTC on all qualified wages paid to their employees, up to a maximum credit amount of $5,000 per employee in 2020 and $7,000 per employee in 2021. Businesses with over 100 employees can only claim the ERTC on wages paid to employees not providing services due to COVID-19 related circumstances. 2. Revenue loss. To be eligible for the ERTC, businesses must have experienced a significant decline in gross receipts during at least one calendar quarter in 2020 or 2021 compared to the same quarter in the previous year. The definition of significant decline varies depending on the payroll company and the specific quarter, but generally means a drop of 50% or more. 3. PPP loans. Businesses that received a PPP loan can still claim the ERTC but cannot use the same wages for both programs. If a business used PPP funds to pay salaries, they can use other than qualifying wages paid for the ERTC. 4. Tax liability. The ERTC is a fully refundable credit, meaning that if the credit exceeds a business's tax liability, it will receive a refundable tax credit from the IRS. This can provide much needed cash flow and financial stability for struggling businesses. The ERTC is designed to provide relief and incentives for businesses to retain their employees during uncertain times. Businesses can reduce their tax liability and increase their financial stability by carefully calculating eligibility and maximizing qualified wages. Employee Retention Credit FAQs. This section answers common questions about eligibility and claiming the Employee Retention Credit, including IRS guidance on credit and recent updates to tax advice. Common questions and answers about eligibility and claiming the credit. Many small to medium-sized business owners have questions about the Employee Retention Credit eligibility and claiming process. Here are some common questions and answers to help you understand the program better. 1. Who are eligible companies that qualify for ERTC? Any business that experienced a decline in revenue or was fully or partially shut down due to COVID-19 can qualify for ERTC. 2. How much can I claim under ERTC? Businesses can claim up to 50% of qualified wages paid, including certain health insurance costs, per employee up to a maximum of $5,000 in 2020 and $7,000 in 2021. 3. Can I claim ERTC if I took out a PPP loan? Businesses can claim both PPP loan forgiveness and ERTC as separate programs. 4. What is considered a qualifying wage for ERTC? Qualifying wages include wages paid by the employer between March 13, 2020 and December 31, 2021. 5. Is there any limitation on the number of employees that qualify for ERTC? All employee wages qualify for credit for eligible employers with less than 100 employees. For employers with more than 100 employees, only wages paid to non-working employees during closure or reduction in trade or business activities will be considered qualified wages. 6. Do I need to file an amended return to claim a credit on wages already reported on Form W-2? No, businesses do not need to file an amended return or revise quarterly filings previously filed, but must keep proper documentation supporting their and other tax credits claimed. 7. Can nonprofit organizations claim ERTC? Yes, all types of organizations, such as religious organizations and charities, are eligible if they meet the criteria outlined under the CARES Act section. Understanding these common questions and answers regarding ERTC's various eligibility criteria and claiming process helps small to medium businesses make informed decisions about their financial planning and maximize their tax break under the program. IRS guidance on the credit and recent updates. The IRS has provided detailed guidance on how to claim the Employee Retention Credit and recent updates to eligibility requirements. In March 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act extended the credit through December 31, 2021, expanded eligibility for certain startups, and increased the maximum credit amount per employee. The IRS has also clarified that employers who received a PPP loan can still take advantage of the ERC for wages not paid with forgiven PPP proceeds. Additionally, businesses that did not qualify for the ERC in 2020 due to not meeting threshold revenue losses may be able to claim the credit in 2021 if they meet new criteria. Comparing the Employee Retention Credit to other COVID-19 relief options. Learn about the key differences between the Employee Retention Credit and other COVID-19 relief programs to determine which option is best for your business. Key differences between the Employee Retention Credit and other programs. Understanding the different COVID-19 relief options available to businesses is crucial for making informed decisions on which program to choose. The Employee Retention Credit is just one of the various forms of financial assistance available. The table below highlights the key differences between the ERTC and other programs, such as the Paycheck Protection Program and Economic Injury Disaster Loans. When comparing the Employee Retention Credit with other COVID-19 relief options, it's essential to consider your business's unique needs and financial situation. Assess the advantages and disadvantages of each program to determine the best choice for your business. Advantages and disadvantages of each program. When comparing the Employee Retention Credit to other COVID-19 relief options, weighing their advantages and disadvantages is essential. For instance, the Paycheck Protection Program offers forgivable loans up to a certain amount for qualifying businesses. While PPP loans can provide significant financial support, they have complex eligibility requirements, and not all businesses may qualify. On the other hand, the ERTC is a refundable tax credit that provides direct financial relief by reducing an employer's tax liability or generating a payment when no taxes are owed. The major advantage of ERTC is that it does not require repayment since it is a tax credit attesting that it reduces your overall tax burden rather than creating additional debt on your books. Conclusion and summary. What is the Employee Retention Credit? Or rather, what is the Employee Retention Credit? After considering the eligibility requirements, benefits, limitations, and real-life examples of the Employee Retention Credit, small to medium-sized business owners should evaluate whether claiming the Employee Retention Tax Credit is a viable option for their organization based on their unique financial circumstances and goals. Considerations for businesses evaluating the credit. As a small to medium-sized business owner, there are several key considerations to consider when evaluating whether the Employee Retention Credit is right for your company. It's also important to weigh the benefits of reduced tax liability and increased cash flow against any limitations or trade-offs that may come with claiming the credit. For example, businesses must meet all eligibility criteria and follow IRS guidelines closely to avoid potential penalties or audits. Final thoughts on the benefits and limitations of the program. In conclusion, the Employee Retention Credit is a valuable tax credit that provides financial relief to businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. It offers several benefits for eligible employers, including reduced tax liability, increased cash flow, and an incentive to retain employees. However, there are some limitations and factors that may limit its availability. For example, not all businesses are eligible for credit, and those with more than 100 employees have different criteria to meet to qualify. Business owners should evaluate whether they meet eligibility requirements before pursuing the ERTC. Factors such as gross receipts loss thresholds and the impact of COVID-19 on their revenue streams will affect their ability to claim the credit. Good news, there is still time to file. The Employee Retention Tax Credit can still be claimed retroactively, and there is still time to file. Even in 2023, 2024, and 2025 for the past tax years.
As you can see, navigating the Employee Retention Credit program is very complex and confusing to try to figure it out on your own. Even on the IRS ERC FAQ pages, it says, "This page is not current." There have been several years of updates and changes to this IRS tax credit already, including 4 congressional acts and 5 updated guidances from the IRS, totaling over 3,900 pages. Who has time to sift through all that information, let alone decipher some of the confusing language and rulings? In order to stay compliant with current IRS ERC rules and regulations, expert specialized help is highly recommended. Even if your business received an SBA PPP loan, you are still eligible for the ERC credit. If you think you may not qualify, it's worth a conversation to see if your business does. Let us assist you with a complete employee retention credit process, or if you might be stuck on filling out the IRS 941X forms correctly on your own. We are here to help. Stay safe, stay compliant, keep more of your refund. Email us at support@disasterloanadvisors.com or call us toll-free at 877-463-9777 extension 3. Or visit us on the web at www.disasterloanadvisors.com/ERC for complete details on the Employee Retention Credit Program for your business.